Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here. Hello, everyone. How are you guys all doing? Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to Reganelite's Viewpoint, episode 122. Still doesn't quite fathom with me that we've done 122 live streams of this, and that's just this one. I actually think I've done more than 300 live streams on this channel, which is insane. And I've been doing this for what, 2.5 years. I need to set the date. I need to remind myself the date of when the third year. Got the 3rd year anniversary, obviously, to come up next year as well in March. Yeah, as well. Crazy. But welcome everyone to Reganelite's Viewpoint. It is the 3rd of November. It is 8 p.m. We've got 6 different stories we're going to be talking about as well. We've got 2 funny videos as well. Links for all that we talk about tonight are in the description as well. Let's say hello to who's here in the chat. Scott Hayes, Mutty Von Erich, Alex Adams, Martin Brisk, Stephen Banker. Good to see you all. Hope you guys are all doing well. Maximum that we go is an hour and a half, but sometimes we might finish earlier than that. We'll see how it goes. For some reason, my body, I'm feeling really tired. I'm tired a lot from yesterday. I don't know how much I showed it at the Good Morning Show, but I was tired from yesterday because we did a lot of traveling, and I've done a lot of recording today. I have recorded all the content for Rumble and Patreon today, which did take its toll a little bit on my voice box. If I'm not gonna lie, it did take a toll a little bit on my voice box. So forgive me if I'm a little bit slow talking tonight, guys, on this. So I just wanted to just give you the heads up now. But after today, I should be a-okay again. I wanted to do a Discord after chat, but I need to rest my voice after this live stream, guys. So I will not be doing one tonight. However, I may consider doing a live do a Discord after chat Wednesday night. I think we might try and do that because it's been long overdue that we've done a Discord after chat. So maybe that night, or maybe even Thursday night, because it's been long overdue since we've done one, guys. Indie Duck, good to see you there. Hope you are doing well. Right, so I want to start with this story here from Sky News, guys, and bastard. So Nigel Farage has said Reform Russia could cut the minimum wage for young people and defends its U-turn on tax pledges. So Mr. Farage gave a wide-ranging news conference on setting out Reform UK's economic plans and defending claims of a U-turn on the 2024 election manifesto pledges. So I am straight away, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, what's the angle here? Of course, I could kick and scream about how outrageous this is for Reform Russia announcing that they want to cut the minimum wage for young people. But rather than scream and shout about this, which everyone should do, what is the angle here? What is the logic behind this? What is the reason behind this? Because this is not going to appeal to young people. So what is he trying to do by cutting the minimum wage here? How does this benefit here? Now, I don't know if he's going to make comparisons to other nations where they don't have minimum wage, or I'm trying to figure out what's the logic here, what's the game plan here, apart from triggering everybody on this issue. Because it feels like to me that this decision for Nigel Farage to come out and say this sounds like a massive spit in the face to young people. That's what it looks like to me. But it can't be just that. There's something more to this, because Reform doesn't just announce things sometimes off the plat. It's planned. This is definitely planned. And I wonder how many voters are going to stick by this decision. And the thing is, I haven't watched the full conference. So because I haven't watched the full conference, I got everything. So I'm going to wait until Phil Morehouse does a video on it, because I'm pretty sure he's going to do a breakdown video on this to get a better understanding of it. I don't know if I'm going to watch the full conference. I've seen clips, guys. I've seen clips, but that's about it. But I do trying to figure out what is he trying to do with this minimum wage cut. Because here's the thing, it doesn't really go against, it doesn't make sense in terms of like how are you helping the working class? Like how are you trying to, how does this help working class people, for example? Like people who are working minimum wage, right? Who are trying to make a decent living for themselves and whatnot. Yeah, when it's already a struggle. It's a struggle right now for people. Even on minimum wage, you cannot basically, some of the basic necessities, you can't afford them, right? We have people who are on minimum wage and some people who are on minimum wage and are getting benefits because entitlements, or going to the food bank because they don't have enough to feed themselves. So again, where's the logic here? And it's important to distinguish here. He's saying minimum wage for young people. What is the benefit of cutting the minimum wage for young people exactly? Is this supposed to, I don't know, toughen them up, make them throw out in the cold? This is the thing I'm trying to get here. Logic reform, yes, right. Youth rate shouldn't be a thing. When are we going to give everyone the same pay rate regardless of age, gender, race? Yeah, I don't like that people younger. I don't like that there's a gap like that as well, Matty. I 100% agree. The minimum wage should be for everyone the moment you start working. From 16 onwards, like once you start working, your minimum wage, bang, that's it. You know, everyone, you know, that should be it. That should be it. I don't like that if you're like a certain age, you're earning a bit less and whatnot here. So let's read into this a little bit more, guys. So Nigel Farage said reform Russia could cut the minimum wage for young people, saying there's an argument that it is currently too high. So he says there's an argument that is currently too high. On what basis? Is this because young people is? I'm assuming that the logic here is perhaps maybe young people getting too much money are spending it on booze, drugs, video games, and instead they're not spending that money on reform Russia instead. Is that it? Speaking at a news conference, he also said his manifesto promises at the last general election to bring in sweeping tax cuts were only ever aspirations, and substantial tax cuts are not realistic. So basically what Nigel Farage is basically saying, when we make policies that we promise we're going to do, we're not going to keep them. This is essentially what this means. So this is essentially him basically saying, oh yeah, about those promises, we can't do them because of circumstances have changed. This is their way of in the future of every time they make pledges to do things, they don't have to keep them now. If you're going to support reform Russia, and you supported them at the last general election on the basis that they were implementing policies that you believed in, and now they're telling you that they can't do them because that they can't do them and that they were only ever aspirations, how can you possibly trust them to be in government promising policies that they're not even going to implement because they're claiming that they are only aspirations and that they're just going to use the global markets or point fingers at other substantial reasons of why they won't be able to implement their policies? That's not a party you can rely on. That's not a party you can trust. That's certainly not a leader you can get behind. This is the logic here. And this is also the same thing with Labour here. Labour promised not to raise taxes, but they're going to be doing that. They're going to be breaking their manifesto pledge, which is obviously something which is problematic as well here. It's their money; they can spend it on whatever they want. This is it, yeah. And more money in their in kids' pockets and whatnot is good for them, especially if you teach them how to look after their finances. So, in a broader defence of his insurgent party, Mr. Farage has insisted Reform Russia is not a one-man band. This is 100% bollocks. You take Nigel Farage out of Reform Russia, and the party is literally dead. Nobody's interested in Richard Tice. Nobody's a fan of Lee Anderson. Do you really think people would get behind, I don't know, Andrea Jenkins as their next leader? Like, no. It is a one-man band. Because without him, the party is nothing. And he is building a team with experiences across a wide range of policy areas. The Reform Russia leader made the comments in a speech and news conference with journalists in the City of London, in which he pledges the party would be the most pro-business, the most pro-entrepreneurship government that has been seen in this country in modern times. Yeah, he's planning to cut a lot of red tape and deregulation for businesses, for banks and whatnot, which, you know, you would think on the sound of it, that sounds like a good idea. Give businesses more flexibility and whatnot. There's a reason why we have regulations. There's a reason why we have, red tape. Why we have like rules and whatnot. It's to ensure that there's not too much greed being taken away. And it's just, I don't know, maybe just to avoid like something like a financial crash. What we had like in 2008. I don't want that again. But you know what? Given some of the people that are in power, I would not be surprised if we had that again. Yeah. I don't think it would benefit most all businesses. It just wouldn't benefit us people, I feel. Asked in the news conference afterwards if he believes the minimum wage is too high, Mr. Farage replied, quote, "There's an argument that minimum wage is too high for younger workers, particularly given that we've lowered the level at which NIC, Employers' National Insurance, is paid to £5,000 a year." This is a reference to the Chancellor Rachel Reeves's decision at the last budget to reduce the threshold at which employers start paying national insurance contributions from $9,100 per year in salary to $5,000. That's his argument here. Shall we listen to the Frogman himself? Let's listen to his point on this. 1 second. If there's not adverts, put the.
You are the master of political reinvention. I mean, we've had Brexit Nigel and trade union Nigel and small state Nigel and nationalisation Nigel. They line up like Barbies on a toy shelf. Today we've got fiscal responsibility Nigel. Why should we trust that this Nigel Farage survives to and beyond the next general election when stuff gets jettisoned, when priorities change and political winds change?
I haven't jettisoned anything. I believe in pretty much the same sort of things I believed in 30 years ago. The difference to that is I now understand more than I did the role of the state in strategic industries. It's why Richard and I went to Scunthorpe. But if we hadn't gone to Scunthorpe, there would be no primary steel being made in Britain today. Have I adapted over 30 years into believing that the country needs an industrial strategy? Yes. Do I believe that actually, in certain failing industries, a short-term partial nationalisation where, by the way, the bondholders and shareholders get wiped out, it doesn't cost government to do it? Yes. So I think you'll find the shifts and changes that you're looking for quite difficult to find. I believe we have to be a competitive economy. I believe we have to have a hard work culture in this country. And I believe that unless business succeeds, the rest of the country can't succeed. A growing public sector does not make us richer. I think I've believed in that for almost 50 years, actually.
Growing public sector. That tells you everything you need to know, that last bit there. Does not believe in the public sector. Without public sector. So he wants everything to be privatized. Everything. He wants everything to be relied on by private businesses. What could possibly go wrong, chat? What could possibly go wrong? Making the arguments that the change puts too much of a tax burden on businesses. Stifling growth, Mr. Farage told the Chancellor to do one or the other, either lift the cap at which national insurance is due or lower the minimum wage for younger workers. The currently hourly national minimum wage for apprentices and people under 18 is £7.55 for 18 to 20-year-olds and is £10 for age 21 and is 18 to 20s is £10 and for 21 and over is £12.21. This is far too low. Far too low. The minimum wage needs to be at least £16. £16 at least. At least £16 in my opinion. Yes, it's nowhere near enough, guys. I know it's not nowhere near enough, but it's a start. It's nowhere near enough what people need right now in their pockets. But I would also increase I would significantly increase the minimum wage while also freezing bills. That would be my two things priorities, and let the government take the brunt of it. I don't care where I get the money from, but I would do those two things: substantially increase the minimum wage and freeze bills, because it would put significant amount of money into people's pockets. I know it's not as simple as that, but still. But Mr. Farage has also been accused of U-turning on the tax cuts he pledged in Reform Russia's 2024 general election manifesto, which he called Our Contract with You. Yeah, a contract. So he's already broken the contract, literally, guys. He's broken the contract. So people, again, need to remember that. Key measures in the document including raising the minimum wage threshold of income tax to 20,000, raising the higher rate of threshold from 50,000 to 70,000, abolishing stamp duty for properties below 750,000, and abolishing taxes on inheritance below £2 million. Speaking on Monday, the Reform Russia leader says, "We want to cut taxes, of course. We do, but understand substantial tax cuts, given the dire state of our debt, of our finances, is not realistic at this current moment in time." We control our own finances. We control our own debt. It's not like we have a debt to someone. It's our own currency, for crying out loud. Like, even I don't understand. Like, I'm not a financial expert in any way, shape, or form. I'm not an economist in any way, shape, or form. But even I understand that the debt is owed to ourselves. He said he would make some relatively modest changes immediately, which includes scrapping the inheritance tax imposed on family farms as well as family-run businesses, and raise the threshold in which people will start to pay tax, though he was not specific about the level at which he would put the thresholds. Challenged by a journalist on whether he is breaking his promise in order to join the mainstream of economic thinking, the Reform Russia leader insisted that the promises included in the party's 2024 manifesto were only ever aspirations, and that the changes made today are about the party being realistic about the state of the economy. Again, this gives him carte blanche to basically say whatever promises, whatever commitments that Reform Russia make to its people, to its members, to the public, they can lie on a whim here, is what they're saying. If he's saying this now, he can say this later on as well. So again, it's another reason why you cannot trust what comes out of his mouth. Mr. Farage also insisted that Reform Russia project is not his alone, saying that he will be announcing new people to cover various different policy areas in the coming weeks. I wonder if I'm assuming Richard Tice is probably going to be the so-called energy secretary, shadow energy secretary for their party. Billy Kershaw, good to see you there. Hope you're doing well. Calling in to hit the like button. Hit the like button for the badgers. For the badgers, for the ducks, for the penguins. Indeed. He said, "What I've tried to do really hard this year is to get away from this idea, this criticism that somehow it's a one-man band. It's not a one-man band. Well, yes, it is. There's a broadening team. They're sitting there right in front of you. If you on the front row, from David Ball to Lee Anderson to Richard Tice, Danny Kruger, and indeed Zara Youssef as well, as there are others, and there'll be much more." What a bunch of clowns. He also explained that he's not yet ready to say who his chancellor might be, or who will fill the top cabinet roles in his potential future reform government. My God. You know what? His chancellor will probably be Liz Truss. That'll probably be it. Seeing how much he admired her budget. Reform Russia is in chaos. In response to the speech, the Labour Party spokesperson said, Nigel Farage has promised a return to damaging austerity, taking an axe to public service with no cuts off the table. He complained the minimum wage is too high for young workers, while doubling down on his golden giveaway to foreign billionaires. Reform would slash the NHS, schools and pensions, and cancel Labour's investments in local roads, rail and clean energy, putting millions of jobs at risk while wreaking havoc on family finances. Only this Labour government is fixing the long-term damage to our economy to renew Britain. And the Conservative Shadow Chancellor Sir Mel Stride said Mr Farage left the public with far more questions than answers by not specifying which parts of his manifesto his party stands by. While adding reform could not be taken seriously on the economy, when their promises disintegrate after 5 minutes and they remain committed to extra welfare spending and a huge expansion of the state. After this rambling, incoherent speech, it is clear Reform Russia's economy policy is in chaos. Farage might claim that he's not a one-man man, but he can't even tell us who his chancellor would be. This is not serious. This is just more announcements without a plan. Well, to be fair to him on who his chancellor could and could not be, you have to also bear in mind that they do only have 5 MPs as well, so they don't need to give that away in any way, shape, or form. To be fair, yeah. I'm still. There's got to be a logic behind why he wants to cut minimum wage, and it's not just to piss off the left, because it is pissing me off and pissing everybody else in the chat off, I'm sure. But there's got to be a logic behind it, and it sounds insane to me that he would cut minimum wage for young people. Like, I just don't understand the idea about it, the logic behind it. And again, I know people say there isn't any logic behind it, but there's a reason why they announced it. There is a reason why they've announced it. I wouldn't be surprised if they turn their backs on it as well, to be fair. Jamie, again, it's good to see you there. I hope you are doing well. Tuning in from work. No worries, buddy. Pain in the neck, Nigel, System Banker. Brexley should be the only warning people should need to not trust anything Farage says. Yeah, the problem is people are still backing Farage, though. Christina, good evening to you. Hope you are doing well. Thanks for popping in. Anybody else lurking in the chats? Right, let's all poke fun at this next person, guys. This is from the BBC. The Conservative Party nearly ran out of money, said Kemi Badenoch. Oh, the humanity! The Conservative Party nearly ran out of money, guys. Oh dear. Would you please spare a quid or two or a couple of £1 million for the Conservative Party? Because we lost so many seats at the last general election. We're struggling to make getting those donations in. Can you please help us with money, please? The writing. Here's the thing, right? The writing was on the wall before they left, before they got hammered at the general election. The writing was on the wall. They knew they were going to get a walloping. They should have been preparing. They should have been preparing to downsize everything. They should have been preparing for the reality that they are not going to have as much money as they normally have. They needed to be aware of this, and that's why they turned to. I think there were certain. I generally think that there were certain donors who offered to keep the party afloat. Certain donors that they bent to in order to keep the party going, such as anti-climate ones. Because before Kemi Badenoch, this was not a party that was against net zero, that was against climate change as such. And yet all of a sudden, that's changed now. And it's because they needed the money. Not because I believe that they actually believe that they're against net zero, but because they kind of had no choice because they were struggling with money. I might be just throwing out a conspiracy theory there. I might just be simply asking questions. But, you know, this was a party that didn't understand clearly. They didn't realise that, oh, you know, when you lose a lot of MPs, that means you don't get as much money coming in as you used to. I mean, respectfully, the SNP understood that when they unfortunately lost seats at the general election. They understood they weren't going to get as much money, and of course they respectfully adapted to that. The Conservatives, who have been in power for such a long time, have been so used to the amount of money they've been getting into their party, and now they're finding out, oh, we don't have the same kinds of money, the same kind of donations that we used to have, and it's hitting them quite hard, shall we say. Good evening, Joe, one of our moderators. Hope you are doing well there. So Kemi Badenoch said the Conservative Party nearly ran out of money when she took over as leader following the worst ever election defeat. Yeah, so that's why I'm assuming she was probably offered, hey, if you go against net zero, we'll give you this amount of money. And she probably took it. Badenoch said she inherited a party facing internal problems with donors considering pulling funding after the loss of 250 seats at last year's general election. The worst result in Conservative history. Speaking to BBC Newcastle to mark her first year as Conservative Party leader, Badenoch said she spent the first months working furiously behind the scenes, leading to thinking her team were not doing anything. But Badenoch defended her position, arguing without money a party can't survive. After there was a risk that the Conservatives could have gone bankrupt, Badenoch said yes, there was. Badenoch would not say how near the party came to running out of money, but admitted there was a moment when donors could have walked away. Speaking to the BBC, she said keeping donors on board actually took quite a lot of my time, which she wished she had spent out there a bit more. So basically, she was begging the donors not to leave, basically. She insisted the party is now on firmer footing and has begun to set out a new policy agenda, thanks to the groundwork she laid in the first few months. We don't even know a lot of their policies, to be fair. That work culminated in a policy announcement blitz during her party conference speech in October, where she outlined plans to end stamp duty and pull Britain out of the European Convention of Human Rights, the ECHR. That was the most insane thing from the Conservatives. But again, you have to also bear in mind, this is them under the power of a lot of donations. For them begging, they were begging obviously a lot of donors to stay, so they had to make concessions to them. In a wide-ranging interview, Badenoch spoke about learning on the job, including thinking of Prime Minister's questions like a panto rather than cross-examination. I understand it takes time to get used to Prime Minister's questions, but my God, those first few months of her, she was absolutely god-awful. Like, now she's not as bad, but she's still crap. She's still crap at her job, guys. The Conservative leader admitted she initially spent a day preparing arguments and statistics, only to find people were not following what she was saying. No, she was not preparing arguments and statistics. She was looking on Twitter for her answers. That's what she was doing. She was spent more time on Twitter more than anything. No matter how much she prepared, Badenoch said Sir Keir Starmer would simply dismiss her points as rubbish. I just thought this isn't working, she said. Yeah, because your arguments didn't work, and they don't work now. And the reason why the reason why it's so difficult for Kemi Badenoch and the Conservatives for it to work, the main logic behind it is, and you guys notice this just as much as I do. Look, when you've got the same people in that shadow cabinet, the same leader, who were all part of that Conservative government for a long period. Yes, of course, people changed quite a lot. The Conservatives were in power for 14 years, and not everybody who was in the last Conservative cabinet before they all got ousted were the same lot that were in at 2010 and whatnot. Yeah, I understand all that, right? But the fact that they were in power, the majority of them, they all had influence over previous prime ministers to a certain extent. A lot of those people, not just Kemi Badenoch, but people around her bodies, like the fact that this was all there, right? And you look at the shadow cabinet now, and it's the same group of people. It's the same group of people. So if I'm looking at this from someone who is neutral, if I've put myself in the shoes of someone who is neutral, who's not interested in political party loyalty or whatever, and just implementing it in good policy or whatnot, you know, I might look at the Conservatives and think, you know what, these are the same bastards that party while aren't these the same bastards that party while you know, my dad died during COVID or something like that. Because it is still, a lot of them are the same people. A lot of them are those same groups of people in the last 5 years. A lot of them are the same faces. And, you know, Kemi would have done so much better by just pushing out a lot of the old guard and bringing in some fresher faces. Even if they're controversial, it still would have shown a lot of Conservative voters out there that, oh, look, they're offering something different. If rather than them going, I'm just going to go and vote Lib Dem instead. Here's my £1 for the Conservative Party, says Martin Brisk. I'm sure that £1 will make a massive difference, Martin. Thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. 4 more to go to get today's super chat. To get to this live stream super chat goal. 4 more super chats. Thank you so much, Martin. I really appreciate your support. Hope you are doing well. And David Gerardo there. Good to see you there. Hope you are doing well as well. And, everyone just saying hello to everyone there, I see as well. It's more theatre than it is a persecution or interrogation. Yeah, it is theatre. Like, everyone knows it's theatre. One thing I will say about Prime Minister's questions, though, there are times where there are rare times where there are some good bits for Prime Minister's questions, but most of the time it's just nonsense. It's just screaming, heckling, or an MP talking about how great their Prime Minister and his government is, or a Scottish Labour MP who can't be bothered to actually talk something good about Scotland and instead just wants to bash the SNP because, you know, they can't handle the fact that he's going to get their hearts whooped by the SNP when the next elections come round. You know, one of the things I will say about Prime Minister's questions is that I generally believe that they do need to change the system in terms of Prime Minister's questions. I have no problem with the 6 questions from opposition figures. I think that's perfectly legitimate. 2 questions by the third party, I think that's perfectly acceptable as well. But I think every single political party that has 5 MPs or more should be entitled to at least one question to the Prime Minister. That means at least one question from an SNP. It can be Stephen Flynn, or it can be any member that they want. One question from the Green Party at least, any of the members of the Green Party, or one question at least from Reform Russia. So any question they get to ask. It should be at least every political party that has 5 MPs or more, and they are a political party within Parliament, should be entitled to it, and they have 5 MPs or more, should be entitled to at least one question. I don't like it that we sometimes have Prime Minister's questions and an entire political party is not even given a chance to ask at least one question to the Prime Minister. I think that's wrong. I think every single political party that has a few MPs should be able to ask a question on behalf of their party or on behalf of their constituents, in my view. It is the nature of British politics that we have a panto, while political debate in other countries still have other culturally appropriate analogues, she argues. Focusing instead on the one thing during PMQs and peeling it back like a layers of an onion allowed her to better scrutinise the Prime Minister. Badenoch also dismissed talks of rivals plotting against her. That's bollocks. We know they're all plotting against her. Several senior figures, including former leadership rival Robert Jenrick and rising star Kate Liam. Kate Liam is definitely she's definitely controversial with some of the rhetoric she's got because she's crazy right wing, but she will be a breath of fresh air for the Conservative Party. You know, if they made her opposition leader, it would be a breath of fresh air. Even though, yeah, some of the language coming out of her is goddamn crazy, it would actually galvanise Conservative voters because it's a new face. Have attracted headlines of interventions on issues such as banning the burqa and deporting migrants. From today, backbench MPs can launch a vote to potentially topple Badenoch as the grace period stopped them from submitting letters expressing no confidence in her expiries after her first year in office. I think they're going to wait until the local elections or a big scandal comes along before they do anything like that. Badenoch claims she had told colleagues to go on instincts and post what they like on social media to rally support ahead of the party's first conference. We just make sure that if it's something that is a new policy in line that you've checked it so that we don't end up going off in different directions, she added. Ahead of this month's budget, however, Badenoch said she was insisting greater focus among her colleagues on the party's economic pitch. Despite Reform UK's commanding poll lead, Badenoch denied Nigel Farage was the government's main opposition, arguing that that she had forced a major policy shifts on grooming gangs and winter fuel allowance. No. I'm going to go out on a limb and say the Conservatives shifted nothing at all in any policies whatsoever. Reform was an existential threat to every party, she added. It is very clear that Reform UK is hoovering up a lot of discontent, but discontent is not a policy for government. She accused Farage's party of chasing headlines and argued Reform's policies do not stand up to scrutiny. Her comments come as Farage rode back on his party's previous promise to deliver tax cuts worth £90 billion a year. Speaking on Monday, Farage said that substantial tax cuts were not currently realistic because of the dire state of public finances. Yeah. So that's what Kemi's had to say. It'll be interesting how she does now. She's been a year in her post, and she's kind of moulded the party to how she wants it to be. She still sucks as a Conservative leader, and there are times where she actually has hit 1 or 2 punches on Keir Starmer, but that's mainly because Keir Starmer's shot himself in the foot and done some own goals realistically, rather than Kemi actually being better. Because there have been times where he said, "Look, there's literally an open goal today for Kemi to score points," and even though it's like sometimes it's like her taking a penalty. It's like a footballer taking a penalty, right? But you take the goalkeeper away and you still blow it. You still score it sky high. That's Kemi Badenoch sometimes when it comes to PMQs. Like, the goal was literally there. You don't even need to be a great striker. You just need to hit the ball literally into the back of the net, and you still scoff it sky high. So, yeah. £1 for Nigel and a one-way ticket to Mar-a-Lago for Nigel. Oh, you know what? I'd love, I've got no problem with Nigel going to Mar-a-Lago and never coming back. Except for the people of Clacton, it wouldn't be fair on them, to be fair, because they wouldn't be able to do anything. But thank you again, Martin, for the 2C CHF super chat. Really appreciate it. So there's 3 more to go, guys. 3 more super chats to go. Thank you for your support. Interesting piece here from the Independent guys. And leaving the ECHR won't stop the boats. 300 organisations warn in a rallying cry to defend human rights. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's urged to make a positive case for the ECHR after Kemi Badenoch pledged a Tory government would leave the treaty. Yeah, so this is quite. I'm glad that there's 300 organisations have stepped in here. I'd like the number to increase as time goes on. Here to defend this, we need. I actually think we need to try and get some businesses on board as well, not just charities and whatnot. But I think if we can get some big businesses on board, be difficult to convince some of them because it'll actually benefit them financially. But yeah, we need to make the point loud and clear that leaving the European Convention on Human Rights is an absolutely devastating and terrible idea. And I really do hope people don't fall for it. There are a lot of people out there who I do feel are falling for it because they don't fully understand what it does, like the same thing with Brexit. But I don't think people are as gullible as they was before when it comes to leaving the ECHR. But the problem is it's not going to be a referendum. It's literally a government going to be implementing the policy. And the argument will be, if Reform Russia get into power, is that they will keep saying that it's the will of the people, when it's not really the will of the people to leave the European Convention on Human Rights, really. Good evening, Ellie. Hope you are doing well. Pause the video and it still keeps playing. So nearly 300 organisations have issued a rally cry for a full-throttled defence of the European Convention on Human Rights, accusing politicians of using it as a scapegoat with devastating effects. So the ECHR, an international treaty signed by 47 councils of Europe member states to protect fundamental human rights, has come under fire from both Reform Russia and the Tories, who have pledged to quit the convention if they win the next election. In response, groups ranging from Liberty to Refuge, Health Charities, Parkinson's UK and the Centre for Military Justice have warned that the ECHR protects the rights of ordinary people every day up and down the country, from victims of sexual violence to LGBT+ service personnel, public interest journalists and mental health patients. They have accused politicians of using our human rights as a scapegoat and escalating irresponsible rhetoric, targeting migrant and marginalised communities, which has a devastating real-world consequences. Sam Grant, Director of External Affairs at Liberty, which organises the statement from 292 organisations, said, "There are people in powerful positions who want us to believe that we will be better off without the ECHR. Don't believe them." For decades, our human rights laws have underpinned all of our daily lives by giving us the ability to speak freely, love who we want, to live in peace. These rights were hard won, and we must not allow governments now or in the future to take them away. The statement, which has been signed by organisations including Ben & Jerry's. Ben & Jerry's, do like a bit of Ben & Jerry's, guys. Go get yourself a Ben & Jerry's. Shelter, Mind, Disability Action, and the Centre for Women's Justice, argues the ECHR is fundamental to our democracy and enables ordinary people of all backgrounds to hold state and public bodies accountable. Deployed after the Second World War, with the UK playing a leading role, the ECHR and the Human Rights Act, the HRA, which incorporates it into British law, have protected the rights of ordinary people every day up and down the country, or the UK as a whole. Can we say instead of country, say up and down the UK? From victims of sexual violence to LGBT+, service personnel, public interest journalists to mental health patients and victims of serious injustice, from Hillsborough to Windrush, the groups say. The ECHR helps bring peace finally in Northern Ireland through the Good Friday Agreement and improve the quality of public service. We reject the narrative that human rights are not in the interest of the public. Everyone in our society would be much worse off without these key protections. Attacks on the ECHR, they say, have often based on myths, oversimplifications, inaccuracies and scaremongering, partially around migration. Leaving the convention would not solve problems like the backlog of asylum cases or migrants taking dangerous small boats across the channel, they said, but it would bring about years of legal uncertainty, undermine our international position, cause harm to our rights of both migrants in the UK and our wider communities. They call on politicians to stop using our human rights as a scapegoat, level with the British public about the significant cost of ECHR withdrawal, such as the impact of the Good Friday Agreement, and end the escalating irresponsible rhetoric, target migrants and marginalised communities, which have devastating real-world consequences for people who are often already made vulnerable by wider social and economic marginalisation and stigmatisation. Sorry, I'm losing my voice here. Scott, Pete Music, and Person Personate, good to see you all. Hope you are doing well. They also called on Sir Keir Starmer and the Labour government to make the positive case for human rights protections and how they empower ordinary people across the UK, adding, now is the time for a full-throttled defence of the ECHR and the HRA. The fight back against the moves to scrap the ECHR come just weeks after the Tory leader Kemi Badenoch announced that she will withdraw from the international treaty if she won the next election, leading former Tory Attorney General Dominic Greaves to accuse her of a death wish for her party. Ms. Badenoch moved to the right as a part of a bid to reverse her party's decline in the face of the rise of Nigel Farage Reform Russia, who quit just last week in an attempt to bring forward legislation for the UK to quit the convention. The move was blocked by MPs who voted against the motion to bring forward the bill by 96 to 154, majority of 58. The 96, I still just can't do it. Andreas Simons, Executive Director of the End Violence Against Women, argued the ECHR is a critical tool in the fight to end the violence against women and girls, providing victims and survivors with access to support, safety and justice when we are failed by the state. This is the argument case we need to keep making when people want to vote Reform UK, Reform Russia. We need to keep making all these argument points here for those asking. These are all the things that are going to be lost if we let it go. Richard, good to see you there. I hope you are doing well as well. The ECHR means police have a duty to investigate the VAGW, and that frontline support service that can determine that local authorities protect women and girls at immediate risk by providing alternative housing for survivors of domestic abuse. Violence against women and girls is entirely preventable, and it relies on the world with human rights for all, she says. In her annual conference speech in Manchester last month, Ms. Badenoch said, well-meaning treaties and statutes like the European Convention on Human Rights and the European Convention on Action Against Trafficking, drafted with the best of intentions in generations gone by, are now being used in ways that are never intended by their original authors. Absolutely terrible. Is my volume too low? Or is that your side, person? Let me know, guys. Is the volume all right, or do I need to turn it up? Meanwhile, Mr. Farage has said leaving the convention was the unfinished business of Brexit, saying that the UK is not sovereign all the while as we are part of the ECHR. How much sovereignty do we need? I thought we got back our sovereignty when we Brexited. Did we not gain our sovereignty then? Government spokesperson said we have been clear that the UK will remain a member of the European Convention on Human Rights as we do not need to withdraw to deliver meaningful reform. That's what he said there. Yeah. So yeah, another argument and case in point of why we should not leave the European Convention on Human Rights, but we have to keep talking the benefits of it. This is one of the big differences. Like, there's not going to be a referendum on this, okay? It's literally going to be a case of, if you vote the Conservatives, if you vote for reform, bring either one of those parties into power, that is what we are losing. That is what we are losing. We are going to lose the European Convention on Human Rights. We are going to lose our rights as humans. In England, in Wales, and in Scotland. I don't know if they can take them away from Scotland. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm not 100% sure if they can do that. Exactly, but dear, oh dear, it's not good, guys. It's not good at all. So, guys, we need to take a little break, and my voice is really struggling because we still got a couple more stories to go through here. I hope you guys enjoy this funny video while I try to rest my voice up for a little bit. This one video here is from Foil and Arms, and I actually haven't even played this one yet, believe it or not. So we'll see how this one goes, and it's called When It's Cash Only. Well, as long as you got cash, I suppose you're all right, right? Well, let's see how this goes.
Oh yeah, large cappuccino, please.
That's $3.50. Oh, it's cash only. Cash only.
What's cash in me?
We don't take card.
Phone?
No.
Watch?
No. No. We only accept cash.
Cash?
Yes. It's money, like physical money.
Hang on, let me check.
Yeah, sure.
Is this cash?
That's a button.
Oh, this?
That's a bottle cap.
Oh, hang on. Cash.
That's an Oreo. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to serve the next customer.
What? But coffee.
I'm sorry, there's nothing that I can do. Hello, madam.
Oh, you've no money, Pest, do you not?
I do have money.
Oh, no real money, is it?
It's on my phone. And I
Oh,
can't...
well, I'll get it for you.
You
I
will?
will, yeah. I heard you only take cash.
That's correct, yes.
Give me all the money in the tin.
Oh, come on, not again!
I did not see that coming. I did not see the gun thing. I did not see the gun coming a mile away. Oh, I did not see that coming. I swear, I did not see that gun be pulled. Oh dear. You know, my dad keeps telling me that we're going to become a cashless society. I'm like, we are not ready for that yet, Dad. We're not ready for that yet. He said it's going to happen. It's going to happen. I don't think you quite understand. We're not ready for that yet. We're just not ready for that yet. We're just not. What a great video from Foil and Arms. Do go check it out yourselves, guys. Foil Arms and Hogs YouTube channel. Link for it is in the description of that video. Under the description of when it's cash only. Guys, do go and check it out on their channel. Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant video. I'm glad I hadn't seen it because it was even better. But I hadn't even seen it as well. I think actually in one serious point before we carry on, I generally think a cashless society is extremely dangerous and leaves us at the whim of bankers, leaves us at the mercy of others. I think is a very dangerous thing. So I'm very much against a cashless society. I think cash still holds very important value to us. And let's hope that doesn't happen anytime soon as well. And just a reminder before we carry on, guys, we have 3 more super chats to get to today's super chat goal. So if we can get there, it'd be greatly appreciated. Also, do consider checking out Rumble and Patreon. Links for them are down below. I have videos dropping every day, Monday to Friday, for free on those platforms. Do check them out as well. Talk a little bit about tomorrow's. I did cover on Patreon if you guys want to check out the video. Talk a little bit about tomorrow's election, mayoral election. It is the big one for the New York mayoral race. So I did give my thoughts on that. I'll talk a little bit about it tomorrow as well. If you want to see my early thoughts on it, do check out that video on Patreon, as well as plenty of other content will be dropping on Patreon as well. And on Rumble, we'll be talking quite a bit about what's happening in the Middle East and some of the things that have been going on there with regards to Gaza. Unfortunately, things are still not very good, I'm afraid, there as well. And so thank you guys all for being here. It's greatly appreciated. Needed to do that deep breath because, I'm struggling today, guys. So, TalkTV have breached impartiality rules with allegations about cancelled local elections. Ofcom fines. The claim that elections were cancelled because ministers were terrified of reform gave rare rebut by the regulator. Oh, so they've been lying to the public here, or misleading the public to a certain extent. Oh, One Angry Pagan, good to see you there, my friend. Hope you are doing well. Guys, do check out One Angry Pagan's YouTube channel. And this Thursday, we're going to be doing the Eco Flake show. So do join us for that. I'm very excited to it. We're also going to be showing off our new intro that I put together for the platform as well, for the live stream as well. So I'm really looking forward to showing that for you guys as well. So do check that out as well. This Thursday, I'm looking forward to it. Now, is there going to be are we going to get any kind of anything going to happen to TalkTV? Are we going to see something happen? Are they going to get shut down? No. Chances are that because the regulator are weak as hell, they're probably just going to get a slap on the wrist, perhaps a fine, which they'll pay off, and that's about it. And we're not going to see anything happen to Talk TV here. I'd love to see more action taken by the regulator, but to be honest, guys, I don't see anything really being done here. I just think that Labour are too spineless when it comes to regulation of our media. They really are cowards on this. So, Talk TV, the online channel owned by the evil Emperor Rupert Murdoch's news empire, breached impartiality rules in a show that repeatedly accused the government of cancelling local elections out of fear of reform Russia. The media regulator Ofcom issued a rare ruling in relation to a show hosted by Kevin O'Sullivan, in which he repeatedly said that some local elections were being scrapped where ministers feared Nigel Farage's party would win. There is no evidence to suggest that this was actually happening. No evidence whatsoever of this, but this is what they were making. They were making this argument, and it was absolutely insane that they would even make these allegations. The program featured similar accusations from the broadcaster's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Oh my God. It also featured a clip from Farage's YouTube channel in which he repeated the accusation that ministers were terrified of the rise of reform. Now, obviously, YouTube's a little bit different because you can't really do anything about that. But when it comes to TV, obviously, and on the media being run by a regulator, there's something obviously different there. On a handover to the next program, the presenter Ash Gould described the government's proposal as Saddam Hussein Putin sort of territory. What? Jesus. Oh my God, the language is insane, guys. Oh dear, oh dear. Steve, good morning over in New Zealand. I hope you are doing well, my friend. Thank you ever so much. A very generous 50 New Zealand dollars. Thank you so much for the very kind donation, my friend. How are you? I hope you are doing well. I hope you had a great weekend. I don't know if you celebrated Halloween specifically with you and your family, but if you did, I hope you had a great Halloween weekend, my friend. Thank you so much for the very generous donation. A very, very kind donation of as well. Very, very generous. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate your support, my friend. I hope you are doing well. I generally mean that. Thank you again. That's really, really kind. If you have any questions, Steve, at all, just feel free to ask down in the comments as well. Just for comparison, Jal says regulators here can cancel the shows and initiate proceedings to close down media venues, says Jal. Yep, because your regulators take things very, very seriously. And obviously ours are weak as hell, unfortunately. One Pega says the material conditions set up as it is points to an uncertain socialist evolution. He says there, the rise of reform sounds like a zombie movie. Says Jow. It does sound like that. Going forward, I mean, says One Pagan. I see. Ofcom has ruled on a very few breach of impartiality rules in recent years, instead taking up free speech and saying broadcasters can be balanced across a series of programs. However, the regulator concluded that there have not been a proper reflection of the government's position on O'Sullivan's show. When local election proponents were announced, ministers said they were in areas facing a rearrangement of local government, meaning holding elections will be an expensive and irresponsible waste of taxpayer money. So I'm assuming the point is basically the regulator is saying, well, they never made these points on their stations, so leading to misleading of what was actually misleading on this in the first place. The presenters repeatedly alleged that anti-reform motivations of the government reform quite rightly fancied their chances, and Labour knew that they were doomed, he said. Guess what? They've cancelled 13 of them. If there's one thing lefties hate, it's democracy, which is absolute nonsense. If there's one thing that reform Russia hates, it's democracy. He later said that the ones where reform Russia were tipped to do particularly well, they were the ones to have gone. What a shame, Oakeshott said she was sure this was because of the rise of Reform Party, which today once again came as the top of the new set of polls. News UK attempted to argue that O'Sullivan had reflected the government's position in his own provocative style when he said ministers have cited same old drivel about all the borders are changing, so So we'll have to do these later. And some more drivel about the borderlines of constituents changes and all that. This was rejected by Ofcom. News UK also argued viewers knew what to expect from O'Sullivan. Oh, so this is the expectation that because of the kind of viewers that watch the Talk TV, that they would expect viewers to understand that he's not actually serious by the rhetoric he's saying, and that he's just saying it for show, guys. This is literally what they are implying here. You're not supposed to take it seriously from Talk TV. Saying he characterized himself as an unambiguously acrobatic and opinionated middle-aged man. In the statement, News UK says Talk takes its obligations under Section 5 of the Code covering due impartiality extremely seriously and recognises the importance of bringing in its audience accurate and impartial news and a range of voices and perspective on issues of debate. However, on this occasion, we are usually fell short of our own and Ofcom's expectations. Well, they're owning up to it so that they don't get in big trouble, basically. Talk, owned by News UK and publisher of The Times and Sun, launched in 2022. It became an online-only service in 2024 as it struggled to match the growth of its right-wing rival, GB News. So yeah, I don't think anything more is going to come out of this as much as I would want it to, guys. But I do think... wait a minute. Oh, that's a different story. Sorry. Yeah, I do think. I don't think anything's going to come of it. You know, a slap on the wrist, and that's about it. But it is just once again showing that, you know, they are pushing the lines again. Talk TV as well as GB News. We know they push those lines. We know they're pushing those lines, but we know that the regulator is not strong enough to take these on, and it's too spineless. They're too spineless, and this is where the government is failing. And until the government gets a grip on this, once again we're going to have people being misled. Too many people are going to be misled, and it's also another caveat as well, is that it encourages people when people are listening to a news broadcast or a radio or a particular thing, and they know the information being given to them is not accurate or it's misleading or whatnot. It drives people to go somewhere else as well. So it's not helpful anyway. The lefty, anything that they don't like, well, it's a lefty. They hit the little pinky on the chair. It's a lefty. It's raining. It's the lefties. Talk TV more like the Führer speaks. Yeah, just a quick thing, guys. Just to rub in, guys. On Twitter, Piers Morgan got embarrassed by Zach Polanski. They had a little Twitter spat. A little one. A very, very small one. And Piers Morgan ended up blocking Zach Polanski. And then this morning, Zach Polanski tweeted about it, saying, "Oh, look, he blocked me on Twitter. How, you know?" And Piers Morgan actually unblocked him, saying, "I didn't actually know I blocked you." And I was just, I was like, "Yeah, sure. Okay, Piers," because of the whole point about Piers Morgan can't handle the fact that Zach Polanski went on his program and he was asked. And of course, the big question that Piers Morgan only cares about, the only topic he cares about, is a debate on whether a woman can have a penis. And Zach Polanski gave him a straight answer, saying yes, they can. To which Piers Morgan lost his absolute mind, and he still can't get over it. Cry me a river, Piers Morgan. The next story I've got is a very serious one here, guys. So global activists have called on Keir Starmer to do his duty and protect HIV care for LGBT plus people. So this is exclusive from the almost 700 health workers and LGBT rights campaigners from 40 countries have written to the Prime Minister amid deep cuts to overseas aid. It's really important that we try and do everything we can to protect overseas aid. The UK contributes a significant amount of money to that. We know that the UK, as well as the US and other Western countries, have reduced their aid overseas, which has been devastating for many, many countries. At a time where there is a changing climate, where there's more warfare, and the next generation are missing out on a lot of things as well. No worries, Scott. Thanks for popping in. And when it comes to people who are suffering from terrible diseases such as HIV, when it comes to people's rights, the rights to be the rights of LGBT plus T plus people. It's very, very difficult for them, extreme, especially in a country where they have to hide and disguise who they actually are for fear of reprisal from government or people as well. It's a very there are really, really dangerous parts of the world where this aid could actually make the difference to these people's lives. So almost 700 health workers and LGBT plus rights campaigners from 40 countries have written to Keir Starmer asking him to protect the UK's contribution to the global fight against HIV. You know what? That's something that wasn't brought up in the budget. That may be brought up in the budget. Could the Chancellor impose further cuts to global aid? I really hope not. We already done it in one budget, but I wouldn't rule it out either. The government is currently deciding how much money to allocate to HIV prevention efforts from around the world amid the deep cuts to overseas aid. The lesser signatories are asking the Prime Minister to fill the gaps left by the US retreat, as Donald Trump axed the vast majority of the country's contribution to global health when he took office for the second time. The US President's emergency plans for aid relief, that's PEPFAR, which was the world's largest funder of HIV programs, and while it has been partially protected, it still faces major restrictions. The recent proposal by the US Congress to reinstate some funding for global HIV is welcome, but this money, if it's confirmed, will not make its way to many groups at higher risk from the virus, thanks to a discriminatory and unscientific ban on so-called DEI, diversity, equality and inclusion programs, the letter says. US continues to fund preventable medicines and support for women, for pregnant and breastfeeding women, but not for other vulnerable groups, including gay men and transgender community. This will create a two-tier response to the pandemic, where only those deemed worthy by the US government will receive US-funded medicines to protect themselves, the letter says. It was signed by 686 people from the Global South countries representing public health and LGBT plus activist organizations, while more than 300 signed their names. Another half endorsed the letter anonymously because of safety concerns due to harsh and discriminatory anti-LGBT plus laws in their country. Yeah, it's understandable because they're trying to protect themselves. The world's other largest funder of HIV care, the Global Fund to Fight AIDS, tuberculosis and malaria, which pays for a quarter of all international programs, is currently raising funds for the next 3 years. The UK is co-hosting its fundraising event on the 21st of November this year in South Africa, and has always been one of the fund's biggest donors. But it is nevertheless widely expected to cut its contribution by as much as 150 million, risking an estimated 255,000 lives. When AIDS erupted in your country, some elements in the media and politics tried to separate people who had acquired the virus into those deserving or undeserving compassion and care, the letter read. Activists work hard and still do to fight the terrible narrative, which not only stigmatizes and shames people living with HIV, but undermines efforts to drive down transmissions. In addition, the UK has an extra duty to protect the rights of LGBTQ plus people globally, given our historic role in creating an anti-homosexuality laws that still exist in many countries around the world, and which make it harder, often impossible, for LGBTQ plus community to access life-saving services unless they are provided by international donors. This article was produced as part of the Independence Rethinking Global Aid project as well. And if we get a reform Russia government as well, those rights for LGBTQ plus people, they're even more at risk. If they're at risk now because of changes that the Labour have been making with regards to the rights they have now, it's going to get a lot worse for them if reform come into power as well. A lot of minority groups like them are going to be even more pushed pushed more cast into the shadow when we have reform in power. And it's very scary indeed. No one deserves a disease, not even the ones thinking others deserve a disease. That's the difference between a normal person and the idiot saying such stupid things. Yeah. Treat everyone the same. Unfortunately, it's very hard. A lot of people in power just are looking for ways to continuously divide us, continuously have us blame our problems on each other, rather than blaming the people who have the money, who have the power, who have the influence to change things that makes our lives worse and their lives more richer and more powerful in doing so. Peach Music says, personally, I take high oxydol for acute pain from a motorcycle accident. Gives me horrendous tinnitus, makes audio really muffled at times. You have my sympathy, mate. It's weird, I'm having sudden hearing loss. I'm at about 10% my usual level. Oh God, person, I hope it's nothing serious. I'm assuming you've been to the doctor already on that. Hopefully my ear will get better after hearing the levels. It's just tough trying to catch words. I'm sorry to hear that, personally. I generally hope your hearing gets better. Gay people are people, not aliens. Exactly. You know, I hate the rhetoric that they use about immigrants, calling them aliens. I hate that rhetoric from the American Trump administration and people who normalize that language. It's so disgusting to call people like that aliens when they're literally human beings just like you and I. But just because they don't have an American citizenship, they're described as aliens. It's just so wrong. I hate that. I really hate that language that they use on them. Really, really do. And I don't like using the word hate, but you know, there are lines, and it really makes me sick to my stomach, guys. The last story I've got for you guys is an article here from The Times here. An interesting one here, to say the least. But we do have a funny video at the end as well, guys. Don't worry. So, police finances are being squeezed to meet crime targets. So, a report by the National Audit Office found that the Home Office had not fully understood the implementations of the financial pressures on police. I think this is a reality check that when the government, when the Labour government came into power, like lots of things, they didn't fully understand just how much cutting to the bare bone that they have been through. And I want to make this clear. Like, there's a lot of good police officers out there. There are police who do some really wonderful work, and it's very, very difficult for them. Yes, I know we have our bad apples in the police force. I know people will point that out, and rightfully so. But police are so important, and we need to make sure that they are given the resources that they need, and we also need to make sure they're getting paid the wages that they deserve as well for that as well. Yes, again, I know we have corruption, I know we have issues, I know we have racism, we know we have bigotry, I know we have these problems within police forces up and down England in particular. I can't speak for Scotland and Wales, but I know we have these issues. I'm fully aware of that. I have said in the past about defunding the police and starting up a brand new police force from scratch. But in terms of the money and the cost and the time it would take to do that, it's just not a visible idea. But we do need to give the police what they need. However, there's also a problem of giving them too much power. In some cases, some of the laws that they have with regards to the handling of protesters, that's a big problem as well. But yeah, it's not just, I don't know if it's just a case of we need more police officers on the streets. I do think that there needs to be more looking into this here. So let's read a bit more into this, guys. So police forces will need to make significant savings if they are to meet the government's commitments on crimes, the spending watchdog has warned. So a report into police productivity by the National Audit Office found that the pressures facing policing are growing, and that their current approach to managing the situation risks damaging frontline services. It said the Home Office has not fully understood the implementations of forces having to manage increasing financial pressures. In the last financial year, police forces reduced their reserves by 276 million. And funded 60% of capital program police buildings, vehicles and equipment by borrowing 632 million. This is a forecast to rise to 71% in 2025-2026, meaning forces will face higher debt repayments in the future. These are short-term measures which may affect their financial resilience in the future, the NAO found. Why are our police forces in debt? Who decided to make the decision to put our police forces in debt? Why was that made? What really, this really pisses me off, because in the last 14, 15 years, well, even further beyond that, we've seen lots of police stations basically closed down in areas where they don't, where it's much further away now than they are before. And to be fair, like there are, I can understand in some parts why not the police force only in a massive building. I personally believe they still need to be police in most towns still, but what I think they should be is a bit like the Home Office, where they should have like a communal building. There should be like a massive communal building which is shared by like public library. A part of it can be run by the police force in the local area, post office, like kind of thing. You know, like the Labour government were talking about the health hub sort of thing, like that, like one of those kind of massive communal buildings that basically multiple things can be used. Multiple services can use one building, so that just to keep the costs down, rather than actually taking the police force completely out of a town or an area. There should still be like a place for the police to be in that area if they are needed, sort of thing. Just an idea. Rather than, you know, same thing with the post offices and all that kind of stuff. Also, same with a lot of fire brigades. I know some fire brigades places have gone as well. Again, you can merge them all into one. Like, that's another thing that we should be looking at. Merging, like, against, like, you could put the police and fire service, you could put them under the same building, for example, if you wanted to. That could save costs as well. Like, there's those kind of ideas. Rather than taking, for me, like, rather than taking some of these public services in some rural towns and villages and whatnot, merge them together. That was what we should have done. Instead, yeah, the whole austerity thing was just make everyone travel further. These are short-term measures which may affect their financial resilience in the future. He said forces are facing additional responsibilities such as seizing XL bully dogs and enforcing public safety rules after the amendment to the Dangerous Dog Act. He added that the criminal justice reforms and the probation service scaling back supervision to low-risk offenders was also expected to add pressure. Yeah, when you make changes to the policing laws and whatnot, you do throw more work on the police to handle as well. There is that as well. I do accept that. The NAO last looked at the financial sustainability of police forces in 2018. At the time, it said the Home Office should make better use of data to monitor the financial resilience of police forces. He found that the oversight had improved, but said that the Home Office has not yet established consistent data on police spending, and has limited understanding of why some forces are under greater financial stress. Well, this is where we need to have independent inspectors coming in here, independent auditors, coming in and looking at their numbers and seeing what they're spending their money on to get a better understanding of what they're spending their money on. There definitely needs to be auditors looking at that. The Home Office is understood to have identical potential savings of $354 million through its Police Efficiency and Collaboration Programme, according to the NAO. The programme will help fund ministers' policing community commitments, including the aim of halving knife crime and violence against women and girls over the next decade. Sir Geoffrey Clifton Brown, chair of the Public Account Committee, said police forces have had to manage increasingly financial pressures through a number of short-term measures, which has consequences for the future financial resilience. Improvements in productivity and the success of the Home Office police effectiveness and collaboration programs will therefore be critical. This is not an easy task, as previous initiatives have failed to lead to long-lasting improvements, with the Home Office yet to having deciding how it will meet its key targets. No internal agreed definition of productivity, nor the establishment of funding available to the programme, and there are significant risks. The report also warns that previous Home Office efforts have not led to sustainable long-term changes across the 43 police forces. It said the pressures facing policing are growing, and current approaches to managing these pressures risk damaging the service that police forces provide. Improving the productivity of the police is crucial to helping them manage financial pressures while supporting their ability to respond to the changing demands. Clifton Brown said forces also have a significant funds to invest in technology, which will be critical to improving productivity. The NAO found that previously a limited understanding of what works, lack of standardization across forces, and patchy adoption of digital technology have all hampered the pursuit of greater productivity. Sarah Jones, the Crime and Policing Minister, said, "I've welcomed this report and share the NAA views that there is huge untapped potential to revolutionise police efficiency, which must be done urgently. The upcoming police reform white paper will pave the way for this. Setting out a vision to bring policing into the modern age with the technology, innovation and structures they need to deliver far better value for the taxpayer." Jal here says, people think religious dogmas and social dogmas while society is united, but they just divide it, united by using the whip. We have GNRs to patrol provisional areas and the PSBs for urban centres. The forest guards are integrate in the GPR, for example. All police here follow a military system of hierarchy. It's more effective. Only the investigative police PJs have a different system. It saves costs and improves operational capacity. I have around Wanning Pagan says I have some reporters with local coppers. I shall start start trying to talk politics with them. Anyone, half of them genuine for me to ask. Are you serious? You're going to talk to police about politics there? Tell you what, put the idea I said about merging more business, merging buildings together. But what my final thoughts on this is before we go to the funny video. Look, I think that it is I do accept that there are certain strains on our police force. It is very difficult for them. I know that they're not always going to get things right. I know police force officers make mistakes because guess what? We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. And it is incredibly difficult. It is incredibly stressful. And it is very long hours for police officers. And it can have a lot of, it's not just physical, but mental abilities of being a police officer as well. There's a lot to it. And I really do mean this. I really do appreciate our police force that take on these roles because it is a very difficult time for them. I do wish they didn't have some of the powers that they didn't have. However, I also understand that it is an impossible job to be a police officer. Just like it's how difficult of a job it is for people working in the NHS to do what they do. I could never walk the shoes of a police for what the police do, and I can certainly never could walk the shoes of what NHS workers in any way, shape, or form would do. And while I have my reservations about sometimes what the police do on certain things, they really do make a difference to people's lives in certain parts of the community. I hope that they are able to make necessary changes where they need to. I generally think that ensuring that there is police everywhere where they need to be. I don't ever want to see a town centre or rural areas where there's not a single police officer in the area. I do think there needs to be something of there just needs to be more there. Of course, there's always to talk about community police officers as well, which I think was in the past I felt was a very good thing, and I know the Conservatives took it away, and I think the Labour government have been bringing that back in. I think I'm all for more communal officers as well because it does help ease some of the pressure off police forces as well. So yeah, I just really do appreciate what they do. I prefer to have a police service over a police force. The mentality is different. Yeah, it's different for everyone. We do have a lot of police forces, that's for sure. I just go back to my hometown, and I remember my hometown in Bournemouth, and I remember when I was younger, they had a proper police building, and they had a proper building and everything, and it's all gone. And there's not really anywhere particular for the police now in that in there now. They don't have it. They still got the fire service, but yeah, I think of that and there's many examples of many places where they don't have it as well. There's not actually a police force near. The closest police station here is about 20 minutes, 15, 20, about half a 25 minute walk maybe from here by foot from here. It's not too far away, the police station, from where I am, to be fair. Yeah, it's not too far away from here, but you know, but again, I'm in London, you know, so it's much different here than it is in comparison to other parts of England or England or Wales. Again, I can't speak for Scotland, as I'm pretty sure their police force is much better looked after than here in England. In that, but yeah, certainly some food for thought, that is for sure, guys. So guys, we've come to the end of the show, but before we head out, we've got one last video to see ourselves through. I actually haven't played this video for you guys, despite the fact that this video is almost a week old here. Now, it's been a while since we've heard from him. I hope, yeah, we get back to hearing regular videos from him soon. But mind you, though, he's probably doing other projects, which is probably why he's not been doing as many videos these days. Because he's really popular, and that is Matt Green. So he did this video last week for those who didn't see it here. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Of all the faces they put on this, he had to put this one. But he asked the question as, is this politician racist? Well, surely he can't be that racist, right?
A Reform politician got into hot water this week by saying something racist. I'm now joined by another white man to discuss whether or not it was racist. So, was that racist thing that she said racist? Look, she's apologised, and I think we can all agree that what she said was offensive. But was it racist? It was crass and offensive. That's not really answering my question. What she said sounded bad, but in the party we've discussed it and decided that she didn't actually mean it like that. Sorry? She sounded like she was being racist, but she actually meant something else. So what did she mean? She meant that she was being driven mad by seeing so many black and brown people in adverts. That's literally what she said. But God, you've got me doing it now. Look, what I just said is not what I meant to say that she actually meant to say. What? Because after all, what is racism? You seem like the perfect person to ask. Racism is an attitude, it's a vibe, it's a feeling. It's about what you think. If you say something that sounds racist, but you don't think you're being racist, then you're not. So how can you tell what someone thinks? By what they say. But if what they say is what they actually think. But she said seeing black people drove her mad. People don't just say things they don't mean. Oh, my sweet summer child. So you're saying that she was lying, that she isn't driven mad by seeing black and brown people in adverts? No, I'm saying that she didn't mean what she said when she said that. But how do you know? Because she said so. But how do you know that she meant what she said when she said that? Because she'd have to be mad to say something actually racist out loud on TV, wouldn't she? Even these days? Fair point. But look, if she'd wanted to say something racist, she'd have said something actually racist. But this wasn't that. She was simply trying to make a point. What point? Well, people have legitimate concerns about mass migration and also about overrepresentation of ethnic minorities in advertising. Why have you put those two things together? Does that not suggest that you think that all ethnic minorities are migrants? And does that not make you sound a bit, well, racist? But the important thing is that when I said the racist thing, I didn't think I was being racist, or at least you can't prove that I did, which is basically the same. Thank you. Not racist. Next up, as Donald Trump says that he'd love to run for a third term, despite that being unconstitutional, we ask, at this point, would it simply be easier for us to report only the things that he says and does that aren't illegal? Or would that make the news too short?
It would definitely make it far too short there. Indeed. Yeah, he's got quite a few dates lined up here in November. He's on tour at the moment. Yeah, he's in Birmingham, Manchester. He's in Milton Keynes this Friday. Yeah, he's doing quite a lot of tours this month here. You can see there. So if you guys are interested in going to see him if you're in any of those areas, if you get an opportunity to go and see him, feel free to do so. Matt Green there. Do check out his YouTube channel as well. But yeah, you can't tell, but you can tell, but you can't tell. But oh my God, it's crazy, guys. It's just absolutely crazy. The racist comments were not racist because when I said it, I did not meant it to be racist, so it's not racist. Yeah. Figure that out, guys. Just try and figure that out because I can't. It's absolutely crazy, guys. Just absolutely crazy. So, guys, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone coming along. Thank you, guys, for all your comments. Thank you for being patient with me because my voice has been quite a battering today. I look forward to getting some shut eye tonight as well because we're both me and my partner are still tired from yesterday as well. So And thank you guys for coming on the Good Morning Show, for those who came as well. Thank you guys for those who came tonight here as well. I hope you found the live stream informative or helpful to you in some way, shape, or form. Apologies to Dave McGuinness for not attending the two Davies show earlier on. I just had too much work to do again. I know. I'm sorry. I will catch up with it. I'm going to catch up with it tonight actually, before I go to bed. So to hear what you guys had to say as well on that. But as far as, again, as like I said on the Good Morning Show, I'll be back again tomorrow at 11 a.m. for another Good Morning Show. If you guys can join me tomorrow at 6 p.m. for the global news, I'll covering news from outside the UK. I'm definitely going to be talking about the New York mayoral race as well as other things there. Feel free to do so. And of course, on Wednesday, depending on how things go, there'll be plenty to talk about there. So tomorrow on Wednesday night, Wednesday night, there's going to be a lot to discuss as well. What's happening in the US with the whole elections, and see what the numbers are going to be saying and whatnot. I'm very fascinated to see how it all goes as well. And then, of course, Thursday night, myself and One Angry Pagan with the Eco Flake shows to join us for that as well. So thank you guys all for coming along. And thank you again, Steve McMahon, for the very generous super chat from you. It's good to see you again. I hope you have a great week. And thank you again for the very generous donation. And to Martin Brisk for his super chats as well. I greatly appreciate it, guys. So on your way out, guys, before I go, if you can for me, please hit that like button. It'd be greatly appreciated. Share this across social media so others are notified of this live stream. Do consider subscribing if you can. Help me get to 2,500 subscribers by the end of the year. We are not far off it, but we're still well over. I still need like 53 to 55 subscribers to get there. So if you guys can help me get over that line, feel free to do or know somebody that's not a subscriber, help me get over that line. It'd be greatly appreciated, guys. And of course, feel free to check out all my social medias. You can join the Discord community for free, and do check out Rumble and Patreon. There's free content down below. And for YouTube members as well, short videos are already available for you guys to check out already on the platform. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.